Hello and welcome to Business 7. I'd like to start today's program by showing you this photograph. It was taken by Tanya Bauze from Namibia Media Holdings, and to me this summarizes climate change. Now, of course, we know that there is a massive summit in Scotland, in Glasgow, at the moment, and it's all about climate change. It is COP26. And this picture that Tanya has taken, it is near Grootfontein, and it shows so very clearly the effect of a veld fire which destroyed one part of the tree while the other side of the tree is still beautiful and green. And to me, that is what the world needs to decide. Do we want to leave a scorched earth for future generations, or do we want a planet that flourishes? Of course, President Hage Geingob is in Scotland and in Glasgow. He was earlier this week. He also made a speech, and this is what our head of state had to say. Along with the world, Namibia is experiencing widespread and devastating impacts on key facets of our civilization, including severe droughts to devastating veld fires, destroying large tracts of our agricultural land, adversely impacting livelihoods, human health and well-being. As such, we have used the entire Business 7 this week to focus on climate change and COP26. We quickly take a look at the pages so you can see what there is to read. There's an article that speculate about the impact of cutting emissions on children's health, and that is specifically on asthma. We're also looking at green energy versus fossil fuel cash. Now that is Africa's catch-22 in deciding which way to go. Another page focuses on COP26 itself, and it says we are 1 minute to midnight. It focuses on the importance of the COP26 summit. Which brings me to the front page of Business 7 this week. That picture, of course, also taken by Tanya Bauze, and we look at climate change and its impact on Namibia in particular. We have research that was released this year. It's from the World Bank, also Namibia's current blueprint on climate action. And when you read these extremely disturbing publications, you realize that my children, your children, their children are facing an absolute devastated planet by the time they are grown-ups. We've compiled this video for you to summarize our lead story. Staying with COP26, world-renowned environmentalist Sir David Attenborough made this statement at the summit earlier this week.
Your Excellencies, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as you spend the next 2 weeks debating, negotiating, persuading and compromising, as you surely must, it's easy to forget that ultimately the emergency climate comes down to a single number: the concentration of carbon in our atmosphere. The measure that greatly determines global temperature. And the changes in that one number is the clearest way to chart our own story, for it defines our relationship with our world. For much of humanity's ancient history, that number bounced wildly between 180 and 300. And so too did global temperatures. It was a brutal and unpredictable world. At times, our ancestors existed only in tiny numbers. But just over 10,000 years ago, that number suddenly stabilized, and with it, Earth's climate. We found ourselves in an unusually benign period, with predictable seasons and reliable weather. For the first time, civilization was possible, and we wasted no time in taking advantage of that. Everything we've achieved in the last 10,000 years was enabled by the stability during this time. The global temperature has not wavered over this period by more than plus or minus 1 degree Celsius. Until now. Our burning of fossil fuels, our destruction of nature, our approach to industry, construction and learning are releasing carbon into the atmosphere at an unprecedented pace and scale. We are already in trouble. The stability we all depend on is breaking. This story is one of inequality as well as instability. Today, those who've done the least to cause this problem are being the hardest hit. Ultimately, all of us will feel the impact, some of which are now unavoidable.
My world is melting.
You think you have control, we actually have no control.
I'm absolutely terrified to bring a child to this world.
Is this how our story is due to end? A tale of the smartest species doomed by that all too human characteristic of failing to see the bigger picture in pursuit of short-term goals. Perhaps the fact that the people most affected by climate change are no longer some imagined future generation, but young people alive today. Perhaps that will give us the impetus we need to rewrite our story, to turn this tragedy into a triumph. We are, after all, the greatest problem solvers to have ever existed on Earth. We now understand this problem. We know how to stop the number rising and put it in reverse. We must recapture billions of tons of carbon from the air. We must fix our sights on keeping 1.5 degrees within reach. A new industrial revolution, powered by millions of sustainable innovations, is essential and is indeed already beginning. We will all share in the benefits: affordable clean energy, healthy air, and enough food to sustain us all. Nature is a key ally. Wherever we restore the wild, it will recapture carbon and help us bring back balance to our planet. And as we work to build a better world, we must acknowledge no nation has completed its development because no advanced nation is yet sustainable. All have a journey still to compete, so that all nations have a good standard of living and a modest footprint. We're going to have to learn together how to achieve this, ensuring none are left behind. We must use this opportunity to create a more equal world, and our motivation should not be fear, but hope.
Can we fix climate problem in one generation? My answer would be yes, we have to.
We need to not just to talk about what we can do, but to do what we can.
This is a challenge that we should try to solve in a quick way with a long-term vision.
It comes down to this. The people alive now, the generation to come, will look at this conference and consider one thing. Did that number stop rising and start to drop as a result of commitments made here? There's every reason to believe that the answer can be yes. If working apart, we are a force powerful enough to destabilize our planet, surely working together, we are powerful enough to save it. In my lifetime, I've witnessed a terrible decline. In yours, you could and should witness a wonderful recovery. That desperate hope, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, excellency, is why the world is looking to you and why you are here. Thank you.
That was Business 7 for this week. Let's hope and pray that the commitment, the necessary commitment for the future generations and the future of our planet will be made at COP26. To emphasize this, we're playing out with a video. It was released by the United Nations Development Fund. Enjoy. Until next time.
You okay? You need a minute? Cool. Okay. Listen up, people. I know a thing or two about extinction. And let me tell you, and you'd kind of think this would be obvious, going extinct is a bad thing. And driving yourselves extinct? In 70 million years, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. At least we had an asteroid. What's your excuse? You're headed for a climate disaster, and yet every year governments spend hundreds of billions of public funds on fossil fuel subsidies. Imagine if we had spent hundreds of billions per year subsidizing giant meteors. That's what you're doing right now. Think of all the other things you could do with that money. Around the world, people are living in poverty. Don't you think helping them would make more sense than, I don't know, paying for the demise of your entire species? Let me be real for a second. You've got a huge opportunity right now. As you rebuild your economies and bounce back from this pandemic, this is humanity's big chance. So here's my wild idea. Don't choose extinction. Save your species before it's too late. It's time for you humans to stop making excuses and start making changes. Thank you.
If you're feeling how I'm feeling and you know I won't stop, all we gotta do is take our love to the top. If I got it and you want it and you'll never let it drop, all we gotta do is take our love to the top. I will ride for you, baby, even die for you. When I'm loving you, but my heart don't stop.